the blanket's kind of a thing now. It's cold.
Change blankets every week.
It's cold up
I have a collection of like wool blankets.
These are lovely.
I have a friend called June, and June literally must just look out for them and gives me blankets as presents.
Oh my gosh,
I appreciate it.
Thanks, June.
Thanks, June. Thanks, Johnny. I'll send her this.
Yeah, well,
I was going to put makeup on, but meh.
Oh, what shit, we forgot that.
Nah. Oopsie.
Oh, well.
No one will see it. Well, it's alright because I think this is my better side anyway. So we'll just keep this way. No one's going to know.
What Charlotte isn't telling you is that she just washed her fringe for the purposes of this
recording. You are very lucky. I washed my fringe. YouTube viewers. If you didn't know already, you can catch us on YouTube if you want to watch the carnage unfold as well as listen to it.
Well, Charlotte, I feel like we've got quite a lot to talk about this episode. Sorry, for those of you who haven't listened, we're Wilson and Ashley. I'm Rebecca Wilson.
I'm Charlotte Ashley.
And what episode are we on now?
Oh God, number 7. It says it there.
7.
Rebecca's done a very detailed episode plan.
I just like to get those few little bits of statistics or research, or it gives it. I mean, last episode was far from ordered, but I feel like we've had pretty good feedback on it. To be honest, it was on.
Do you know what I don't know whether I was slightly disappointed in myself. We never actually really explained what it was. I think I was just personally so nervous. I mean, the amount of times I said I swear I'm not racist in it was practically offensive. But yeah,
I think it just shows that it's quite a scary topic to tackle. I think, isn't it? But
I think if you really didn't care, you wouldn't tackle it.
No, that's a good point. That is a good point. It was on religious slaughter. If you haven't watched it, you find it where all of
that episode was definitely an assault for your senses.
Yeah. Anyway, these next ones will hopefully be a bit more ordered. We're going to talk about Glastonbury. Are vegans hypocrites? Is it bad for the environment? Has free speech gone too far?
More specifically around. I did think when we said we were going to add the Glastonbury thing in, it was more on the free speech aspect, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then I thought, do we go into the whole recycling? But then I thought no, because their recycling apparently is a wonder of the world.
Well, we've got a tiny bit on that, so we'll be getting into that. And then, second topic today is on TikToker who hired private investigator for her trolls. But I think we should just get into it, Charlotte.
Let's get into it.
So, as I said with Glastonbury, there's a couple of things we want to talk about. I just got a few little stats to start off with, which I thought was quite interesting. We know Glastonbury was probably the most famous festival in the world.
Have you ever been?
Charlotte, have I been? No.
Well, you seem like the kind of person who might go to Glastonbury.
What sort of person goes to Glastonbury?
Like slightly posh and minted. Like that is. It's not for the paupers among us. Let's be honest. The tickets are 600 quid for a shit ticket. That's not even for a good ticket, I don't think.
Well, I tell you what. Since we've been talking about it in this prep for the episode, all that is coming up on my TikTok is when I say glamping does not do those. They must be super expensive. It doesn't do it justice. The people are basically staying in a hotel. There was a pool.
There was a lady who got in touch and asked us if we wanted to go down to a spa on Instagram on the outskirts of the Glastonbury Festival. I replied to her, I don't know if you did, if you'd seen it.
No, I never saw it.
Maybe we should go down. I know we don't do businesses and we don't do, this whole like advertising for businesses. Maybe we should go down just so we can, obviously utilise the spa for her, but then have a look around Glastonbury when it's not there.
Well, it would be really interesting because, a couple of stats. Tickets for this year sold out in just 35 minutes.
I tried to get tickets one year. I had a friend, don't repeat this anybody.
Don't repeat this, but all those people who listen to the podcast are going to know.
Well, she doesn't work there anymore, so it's fine. I had a friend, Rebecca, she worked at a very nice school, a private school that Ariana Grande went to, believe it or not. I can't remember what it was called. It was big on sports and music and stuff. Anyway, near Glastonbury, in Glastonbury. Chris Martin, you can imagine.
Yes.
You can imagine. And she therefore lived in the postcode. Now, if you live in Glastonbury, you can get tickets.
Well, apparently there's some kind of like computer wizards have almost hacked the algorithm. Saying, I don't know if this is
tried
a
to
lie.
hack the algorithm and I changed my postcode to her postcode and used her address to try and get tickets. Anyway, I got through the ballot and then realised I couldn't actually afford them. Like, not even joking. I got through it and wanted to go. My mum's always wanted to go and I've always wanted to go, just for the experience and to say that we've been.
Yes.
I wanted to stand in a crowd of 1 million people singing Coldplay and putting my phone in the air. Like, honestly, I watch them videos on TikTok and it literally makes me emotional. It's so epic. I'm quite sure it's not as romanticised when you stood in the crowd, unless you're really drunk. But like, yeah, I always wanted to go, but yeah, I couldn't afford it.
No.
I could not put that much money on one event.
It's crazy. Well, the site does actually constitute 1,000 acres of farmland, but it does take a fallow year every 5 years to allow the farmland
What's
to
a fallow
recover.
year?
Literally, as we would do, so this festival doesn't happen. You know, if we leave a field
So
fallow
every
and
5 years, festival doesn't happen.
Yes, exactly as we leave. Well, in the old days of set aside, I guess, but
Yes.
we don't really have fallow years these days because you can't afford to almost.
No, you can't.
But they leave the whole site, I guess, as
didn't
is.
know that.
Yeah, every 5 years,
What's it
which
called?
is quite
Worthy
interesting.
Farm?
Worthy Farm,
Yeah.
and actually, it's usually home to 500 dairy cows and 500 young stock. Whilst the festival's going on, they get shipped off to a moo hotel or mootel or something they called it. Obviously, they just go to a shed somewhere
Now
else.
that surprises me. Sorry if you're not really into farming, but we May last year, we shipped in 100 and odd cows from Clitheroe, which is literally, what is that, 70 miles down the road? Something very, 65 miles, say something like that, down the road. And the effect of moving the cows up here, that had detrimental effects on the animals. You do not want unnecessary movements of your animals. It's stressful and it puts them out. I do wonder, I would love a conversation with somebody at the actual farm.
It would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
I think we should, do you know
Let's
what?
try.
If anyone knows anyone who knows anyone, can you get us in touch?
Because we know no one.
No, I know someone who knows someone who knows someone. I think we're alright, we'll get in there.
But it's you're right, and I think for particularly in the dairy sector, dairy cows, to say they're finely, highly tuned animals is an understatement. It is. I mean, even this morning
we've been doing.
Oh, so we've been, we won't go into all the details because we'll end up talking about that for the episode. But Charlotte has a cow which isn't very well, and looking at all the data on this one single cow, which isn't quite right. The vet's been out, all the rest of it. She's now out grazing in the field and hopefully improving. But they're so finely tuned, it's unbelievable. So yeah, the move, I think that's so interesting, and I wonder if we can. Anybody who knows any more information about it, it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's
actually
interesting.
But with that in mind, it's a dairy farm. They are there to produce milk. I assume some of the young stock may come back in as replacements, but some of that young stock will go off to be meat. And the dairy cows at the end of their life, presumably, will also go off into the food chain. My question is, are vegans who visit Glastonbury hypocrites? It's hosted on this working farm.
But are all people who visit Glastonbury vegans?
Well,
or is this just another common misconception that everyone's a hippie who goes to Glastonbury?
Yes. Now, I think there's been quite a big narrative on it this year. I feel like I've seen on farming forums, particularly.
Yes. Our farming forums love slagging Glastonbury off, don't they?
Now,
listen, if you got paid that much to have it on your farm, you'd also move your cow there.
Apparently, some proceeds from the festival do go towards the farming business, amongst other things. I think there's quite a bit of, contribution to the local area and all the rest of it. Is a vegan financially contributing to a livestock farming enterprise by going? Or are we just over-egging the issue and it creates another label. Us versus them?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. I don't think, to be honest, anyone who goes to Glastonbury now is necessarily going to be of that vegan, self-righteous persuasion. And it's just normal people with a lot of money.
And I think the other thing is, as you say, not everybody who goes there is vegan, but just because you're vegan doesn't mean you are out and out against every facet of farming in every element. You can perhaps see some of the goods that farmers could do, and this is exactly it. I
think there's just a minute few that just maybe sort of ruin it for everyone. I don't know whether in general on the internet, focusing on the activists of any movement, religion, people, whatever, is a good idea. I think they're just a bad representation of people.
I think perhaps it is a bit like the religious slaughter debate again.
Yeah.
It's way more nuanced than, vegans hate farming and that's the end of the line. Perhaps, as I said, some vegans and maybe
June, who we and please, June, do not shout at me. She'll shout at me if I've just compared her to a vegan. Honestly, she drives her mad. June's been vegetarian since she was a child. Her dad came home with a brace of pheasants and hung them in the pantry. Anyway, she walked in the pantry as a child, saw the pheasants hung up, didn't like it, didn't eat meat. That's her life choice. She will not
really
ram it down anyone's throats.
Yes.
She's not like that at all. And yet she visits the farm. We've been the best of friends for years.
Yes.
She has no issue with farming livestock at all. And yet she has her own views and her own, and it just is one of those things.
Do you think the vocal vegans, or should I'll word this the other way around? Do you think the vocal farmers are as bad
100%.
as the vocal vegans?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a game online of views, clicks, shares, comments, because at the end of the day it makes money, and when you get that big you will utilize that as content. And the more death threats they get, I think the more content they're able to create from it, and therefore the more shocking it is, the more successful it'll be.
Yes, absolutely.
And years ago, I think my first video on TikTok, it was of a cow. She had a calf in the cubicles and it was covered in shit, and I brought it inside and hair dried it, all the rest of it. Tubed this calf, which funnily enough, tubing a calf to save it was one of the most shocking things with the video. People really didn't sit well with that, at all. It was purely to warm it up. It was like hypothermic, and I thought if I get something warm into it, but because I'd showed myself mixing the milk, not thinking I'd mix this warm milk, powdered milk, and gave it to the calf purely to warm it up. People, why are you not giving it its mother's milk? And that set them off. But then shortly after that, I grew bored of the argument, and I think that becomes your personality. And I didn't want that, so I don't necessarily reply to any kind of comments now about it.
And don't try and...
The odd one I'll fire back just because why not? Just for sport. But now I have a stringent keyword list. So people who say...
just explain that, because I didn't realise this was a thing on the keywords.
Well, online you can go in your settings if you're on I think it might be on just a creator profile.
Yes.
It could be on all of them, and you can put in words that you do not want to feature in your comments, and they won't show up. So, say for instance, someone says you're raping cows because we artificially inseminate. Funnily enough, Rachel's here now, just doing it. The word rape, raping. I don't know whether vegans may be blocked, murdering, the usual spiel that people throw at you. All of them words are blocked, so them comments don't show up at all. I don't have to even go through them. They're in a separate place altogether. If I wanted to review them, I could do, but to be honest, I never have.
No, what's the point?
What is the point? So they don't even get through the door.
Yes, which I think actually, to be cynical of some influencers. Interesting word, influencer.
Gareth, we're talking to you.
Some people like those comments.
Love it.
Because it creates...
No, that's fine. And that's fine. It just depends on what you want out of it. And it's different people utilising platforms for different things. And personally, I really can't be arsed with the arguments. I've got into Twitter spats with people before and forgot somehow that I can put my phone down. It's not real.
Yes.
And been really quite annoyed at the fact that, and then you're like, what are you doing? You're literally getting cross at words on a screen. And
also, the thing that I always try and... I'm quite lucky, I think. Sheep and arable are less controversial sectors. I don't particularly get trolled as such. We are actually going to move on to trolls, actually, in a second, so we don't want to...
segue. If only we'd done it a little bit later.
Oh, a bit later.
We're not good.
I guess going back to the vegans, some vegans, and I'm not sure how much I agree with this, but... it's environmental concerns which I guess push them into being a vegan. Glastonbury actually seems to be doing pretty well on that environmental front. I think
they have to because of their clientele, though. If you think of where Glastonbury started, it started when tickets were 50p and they gave away milk free from the farm. and it was primarily, festival goers, which were of a more, hippie kind of persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, I don't think there's any such thing, is there? It's just fashions come and go and they change. I think probably
Absolutely.
indie is now the hippie, isn't it?
Yeah. I think maybe we'd be, if anybody's listening, maybe we should have got somebody who's been to Glastonbury to give us a summary of what it's like to actually go there. But I guess maybe we'd be surprised at the broad demographic of people. Perhaps you still see those, in my mind, pretty shocking photos of the state of the place afterwards. But actually, they reportedly, create 2,000 tons of waste a year, but 50 to 60% of the waste is recycled, which actually
Their recycling is absolutely immense.
apparently the 50 to 60% is better than most local councils' recycling rates. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. But they're basically doing better than
I can
we
imagine. I got offered a trip around the recycling plant once, but it fell on the weekend of the Highland Show about 3 years
are.
ago.
Oh gosh.
And we always, obviously, this is the first time we've not been to Highland Show in about 6 years, but yeah, Glastonbury falls on the same weekend.
Yes.
Um,
Another couple of things which I looked this up, which I thought was quite interesting. This was according to the Independent. They'd done a bit of but Chinese lanterns and body glitter are also banned because of their environmental concerns.
I saw that.
Which I think is interesting because obviously livestock, if they ingest those lanterns and whatever, obviously it can kill them or at least cause pretty serious issues. So I think actually, well, perhaps is it that the clientele, but because they're such a festival that's so in the public eye, they have to be seen to do the right thing.
Well, it's funny because you think if the people who would be concerned with environmental green credentials would also be the same sort of people, I'll say, that would be concerned with the regen farming kind of no-till, no ploughing, root structure loving people. Now, do they marry up? I mean, I'm not being funny. Even something really simple like the compaction from stages, from people, vehicles, from the mud, from the, do they actually gel together?
Well, it's not very good for those worms under there, is it?
Well, there won't be any.
Exactly.
There won't be any. No, and that's before all the tent pegs and the,
Couple of things though. They have installed solar panels on cattle sheds and planted trees and hedges across the farm.
No, I'm sorry, I'll stop. No, do you know what? I'll stop you there. You knew I was going to do it. Literally, she saw my face. We're going to put solar panels on. Guess what? There's a government grant on them. And we also planted trees on the farm. And guess what? You guys paid for it, sat at home. Like, let's not pretend that is them doing good. That is paid for by the taxpayer.
Well, and I don't know all the figures on how many solar panels, etc. But if you are using solar panels to help with the environmental impact of Glastonbury, you're not going to have a few solar panels on a few of your cattle sheds. You would need a whole blooming solar farm to power Glastonbury.
I've just asked my mum, I said, have you been to Glastonbury? She said, not the festival, but I've been to the town and climbed up the Glastonbury torch. I don't know what that means.
One thing I think that is interesting, though, is that the narrative there with the solar panels and the trees and the hedges is pitching farming as part of the sustainability solution. So it is saying that farming can help mitigate the environmental impact of a festival like Glastonbury.
Yeah, but farming's used to negate the environmental impact of the world.
But why is it that is not pitched as such, is it?
No, they are. They use us to clean up their mess. The government in general, regardless of party, colour, all the rest of it, centre, right, left, God knows what, round in a circle.
Who knows where they are now? Oh my gosh.
Honestly, we are used to clean up everybody's mess, to tick a box and to clean up people's messes. And that is why I think there's been such a backlash from farmers. And I think that's why people get so cross at festivals like Glastonbury.
Yes.
Or any big festival where people are trying to sit on the moral high ground. You are not doing that. Not on our backs.
I mean, there's even questions around the diesel use at the festival, for example.
How people
travel
extreme.
there,
And that's all well and good if you're not pretending to be a do-gooder. But can you do both?
And I think that's a really important point to note, in that hopefully we all kind of accept that most of us in living our life, we are going to be polluters and consumers. That is the nature of living in this society. But I think pretending to be something you're not is, as you say, where
Makes people feel good though, doesn't it?
Well, yeah.
I think, honestly, I think people with, I'm going to say it, I think people with too much time on their hands and not enough worries to think about. I mean, what am I worried about right now this second? A high back to scam in the tank room because it's not cooling properly. I'm worried about the cow that's out in the field. I'm worried that I need to wash the top shed out. I'm worried about Anna and her transitioning to school. I'm worried about going and picking Rufus up in, what time is it? Like an hour at school. We're worried about whether or not we're feeding the correct amount of nuts in the robot to this, that and the other. And that's before you've started all the manual work. I've got to muck the calves out down the bottom. The sheep have all escaped into a field full of bales. I'm worried that they're going to chew them. I don't think they will, though. There's plenty of grass. But we have a constant stream of worries to keep us in check.
The difference about farming worries is there's some jobs which are similar in that you take those worries home, or perhaps even if you were a doctor or a nurse, you'll be thinking, is that patient I left at the end of my shift going to make it through the night, or things like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But on the whole, many jobs in this day and age, you leave at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever time it is, and you can park it.
I think they're very similar to small business owners, or even large business owners. I think business owners in general have more of a burden on them, but do they get to reap the rewards at the other end financially? Maybe they do.
Perhaps they do in another sector.
We bloody don't.
In farming, the return just...
It is the most poor investment is land, isn't it, really, for return on your investment?
It completely. Well, even the DEFRA figures show that the return on investment's less than 1%, don't they?
Something just make you wonder why we bothered.
Why are we doing it?
Why are we doing this to ourselves?
I actually had this conversation with my physio. I've got a bad neck at the moment. And I actually quite like that he engages in like he asks me about stuff that's kind of going on the farm, or like, and he's not from farming at all, he's a physio, but he's interested. And I feel like even just through the few conversations that we've had, he's hopefully, even if he's learned one thing from what's going, about what's going on, I feel like we've got to take the opportunity to chat to people at any given chance. If they show an interest, we have, I think personally, a responsibility to...
Of course you do. We spend that much time putting it out online. Of course, it's only natural that you should be doing it in person.
Well, I had another interesting conversation. We had an open day at the farm, well, be 2 weeks ago by the time this episode comes out. And a chap came to deliver some chairs. And he was looking at my hens. Now, I have a bit of a menagerie of hens, a few different odds and sods of breeds and whatever. And he pulled up into the yard and he was looking at them, and he asked me about them. And then we got chatting and he said, I do some kind of deliveries up, up into the hills or whatever. And he said, sometimes they have a sign on the farm gate which says half a lamb for sale or whatever. And he said, half a lamb, £75. And he said, and I just don't know.
I mean, that's good.
Well, he said, it just seems so... Basically, first thing he said, it seems so cheap. And I said, well, I did think that was fairly affordable at £75. I thought that was quite a good deal for half.
That is a very good deal
for half a lamb. But
must be a crap lamb.
He volunteered. Might be some kind of hill sheep, I guess, perhaps. But he volunteered. Oh well, supermarkets basically must be taking the piss. And I thought,
processors, I think
you're exactly right there. And then he also said, and this was the interesting part, but what would I do with half a lamb? He said, how would I deal with that? And I
he physically thought it was half.
Yes.
Now, a lamb in half.
Now, some farmers would berate that straight away and think, how can you be so stupid?
Well, no,
but to me, that's a really easy opportunity that we have to help educate that person who, it's not his bread and butter. I said, actually, it'll come cut up almost how you could get it in the supermarket. You'll have some lamb chops. You'll have perhaps a joint of a leg of lamb.
For anyone who doesn't, half a lamb, I would say would, like a fruit box from wherever. I'd say half a lamb would fill a fruit box, wouldn't it?
Yes.
About.
Yeah. Yes. And actually,
because I get 2 or 3 back when I get a lamb butcher. I'd say half a lamb would fill that. So if you're ever in the market for half a lamb. A lady going to mention
Yeah, in our next
in the next
segment.
episode. Yeah. In the next segment, Lancashire Lamb Boxes, they also
Yes,
do.
Absolutely. And I think what you're doing there, and this is what I said to him. I said, and actually, if you're a repeat customer of a specific farmer and their lamb boxes, I said sometimes they'll probably even get to the stage of if you wanted a specific way of it being cut up, you can build up that relationship, and you could probably get it cut up in the way that you wanted. So we've really gone off topic there, but it's interesting. Any opportunity to chat to people. But I think probably before we bore you to death with our anecdotes of random people across the country, we're going to finish this section of Glastonbury with the idea of free speech.
This was what we kind of originally got into talking about, and it was what, to be honest, everyone's talking about. It was, I can't remember the name. What was the name of the band?
Bob Villain and Kneecap.
Have we literally given these people a platform? Because I have no idea who they are.
I'd never heard of them.
I mean, good for them, but I honestly, I've never heard of them before. So maybe we've probably, as a nation, given them more voice than what they would have ordinarily had. Which is funny because it's kind of the opposite of what the media or what the BBC had intended.
Yes. Well, I think for anybody who hasn't seen it, there were a couple of performances which perhaps felt more like politically fueled, should we say?
Yeah.
Than all about the music. But in some of the bits I've read, the narrative has kind of been, but if you can't be radical or kind of political at Glastonbury,
when can you be? Exactly.
And I thought that was interesting, perhaps because we've never been.
Very interesting for me that I kind of went, that's what you all think.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realise that would be what you all think.
Well,
am I so out of the? I mean, the most I have. So the bands we're talking about. There's a band called Kneecap. They are Irish or are they Northern Irish maybe? Very politically charged, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I will correct myself on whether they're Irish or Northern Irish because I think that is, as
the
I keep
crux
getting
of
told,
the issue.
that's what I get told by Andrew Wright when I call him Irish, and he says, "I will correct you there. You cannot call me that." But yeah, they're very political, and I think they knew what was going to happen, so they basically didn't stream their set. So yes,
the BBC didn't stream it.
The BBC apparently the BBC were told by Keir Starmer not to stream their set. Now, how true that is, I do not know.
How fascinating.
Obviously, his allegiances lie in opposing views, should we say, to theirs. So they were not given the opportunity to be on the BBC live streaming service. But another artist, was it Bob
Villain?
Vance? No,
Villain. I swear it's Bob Villain.
It's not Bob. That's Bob Dylan.
No, Bob Villain. I
Is that
promise
his name?
you.
I don't even know who he is either. I don't know these people. Are we just old women now? Like, why are we not down with the kids anymore?
We're like nanas with our tartan blankets on.
You're talking about farming. We're like the uncoolest people in the world.
Oh my God, I've just gone onto my browser and it's the bloody ketchup. I wonder if it's worked.
Oh, so I have a talk about being a granny.
Yeah,
I have a copper sink and I can't get it clean. It's an absolute pain in the bottom, should we say. Anyway, I went at it last night with Brasso, the pink stuff, honestly, everything. I went crazy. Anyway, Rebecca's come up with a hack if you tip ketchup all over it. So if Roy goes in...
don't blummin' do it because it might not work.
If Roy goes in the house, there's literally ketchup all over the sink. It's unreal. I'll video it and put it in, see if it works.
It is Bob Villain.
Villain? I've never heard of him. I'm going to have to listen to
Never
what
heard
he
of him.
sings.
Anyway, he said some politically charged things.
So they're against the Jews and they're all for the Palestinians.
It's the Israel-Palestine debate, which my personal opinion is it perhaps didn't need to be brought out at a music festival to celebrate music.
No.
But that's free speech, isn't it? However, the BBC streamed this.
And
hate
it went,
speech.
Yeah. Well, technically, I think it was probably of more of an extreme nature than the usual.
Yes, it
That's
was.
their issue, I think.
And actually, off the back of it, the BBC have now admitted that they shouldn't have streamed it, but they were reacting to a live stream as it happened. The police are now
launching a criminal investigation into these guys.
And interestingly, America have revoked their work visas. I think they were going on tour there, and
not
so now
anymore,
they
you're
can't
not.
go on tour. So I think the question is, at what point does free speech turn into hate speech, even incitement? Where is the line drawn in what people say? And actually, it feels like a strange one for us to be talking about as farmers, but do we lead a sheltered life in our farming world? I
think it's applicable to everything. Well, we watched the most I've ever had anything to do with this debate. I mean, at all. I mean, in any kind of knowledge whatsoever. I mean, God, I would have to look up the bloody terminology they use because I don't know what it means. We watched the Louis Theroux documentary on the way home from
We'd been in London, hadn't we?
And wow. I mean, even I was again. I'm with these guys.
It was crazy.
No, so from that documentary, I'm with these guys. But bear in mind, we are being shown, like we said before, the worst of a bunch of people.
Yes.
The worst, the most extreme, the most vocal, the most polarizing group of an entire. I don't even know what. A nation,
a population,
whatever you want to say, a religion, whatever, of a people, we are being shown the worst of.
Yes.
And we've formed an opinion from that. Now, I'm quite sure on either side, there are the worst people.
There's horrors going on.
And it's interesting. I saw, we were talking about the J.K. Rowling thing the other day.
Yes.
Did you see
Which
that?
I've now finished, and I thought it genuinely
it wasn't. It's so good. We'll put if you haven't already listened to it, I've suggested it to a few people. So Draco Malfoy, which is Tom Felton, has gone. He's now Draco's dad. No, he's not. He's Draco. He's his older self in the stage production of The Cursed Child.
Oh, right.
You need to really be into Harry Potter, Rebecca,
okay,
to know these
sorry.
things. So anyway, Tom Felton's playing sort of his older self, which is absolutely amazing. It's got to be. So he was Draco when he was a kid, and now he's Draco, but as he was older in the stage production. Some reporter the other day tried to say to him about what are your thoughts on J.K. Rowling, and he basically just said it doesn't really affect me. And he's the first person. All the rest of them have had an opinion on it.
Yes.
You don't need to have an opinion on everything.
Do you know what?
Do you have skin in the game?
I think that's really a really interesting point.
Like, it's all right to say, I don't know enough about this subject to have an opinion.
I think that's one thing that we found doing this podcast in that, for example, the episode from our last, the halal one and religious slaughter, we fell out of our comfort zone because we didn't know everything. We did our research, we looked up some facts, we tried to present balance, but we didn't know everything or even close to everything about the subject. And I think you're exactly right. There's a time and a place for you to think that you're an authority on something. And you don't have to be an authority on everything. If you haven't lived it or you haven't spent the time to appreciate it and understand it, then
I think that's the problem with the internet, though. It gives everybody a platform to have an opinion. And half of the opinions are not actually worth listening to.
Well, I think that is a very good way to get us into our next segment about opinions on the internet. That idea of free speech in mind. We are going to be talking about Indy Clinton and her private investigator. Why do I do this?
I know, yeah, it's like Little Rabbit. I think I might just leave that in. We don't need actual music. We'll just get us going. We need to sing our own theme tune. The Wilson and Ashley Show.
If you put that on at the start, everybody would switch off instantly. They'd be like, oh my God, is this some sort of...
Welcome to the Wilson and Ashley Show. An assault on your senses for the next hour.
I think people might describe it as that anyway, to be honest, with our chat.
So, do you know who Indy Clinton is? Because I don't.
She's an Australian TikToker.
I know that bit only because I've researched her. But did you follow her?
She had come up on my Instagram
Had
a lot.
She?
Let
me look at her, because I've looked at lots of things about her, but I've not looked at her.
She's got over 2 million followers on TikTok. In 2023, she was TikTok
What is she?
Creator of the Year. Well, she describes herself as a sleep-deprived mum. Now,
Oh, wow, that's a nice label you've given yourself. Sorry.
to me, she does have a very, very chaotic life with her children. They are sometimes feral, but what children aren't feral? But she's got a massive amount of troll comments, and I think it's not just.
Do you think that's because she responds to them?
Well, I don't think she gets. Everybody's going to get the odd one here or there. I think that's the nature of putting yourself online. But by the sounds of it, she gets repeated ones from these same fake or hidden kind of profiles, as it were, repeatedly, just trolling after trolling. Now, she has hired a private investigator to get to the bottom of the trolls. So I thought we should probably have a look at a few of
That's why it's not working. I'm spelling indie wrong.
Indie with a Y.
Indie with a Y.
She has been criticised for her chaotic parenting.
Meh, I really can't speak.
It's like the kids are performing. It's a shocking way to raise children.
I'm sorry, I'm not being funny, like dance mums, Jojo Siwa being a child and being, this has been happening throughout the internet time.
That poor baby needed a cuddle and rest at home, not filmed and dragged around for content. So to me, that's just one of those things. If you put your children on social media, people are going to probably have an opinion. And then we get the sort of, fuck Indy Clinton, she's a disgusting child exploiting piece of shit.
Ooh,
now that to me has gone
that's across the
another
line.
level. She's also recently had a nose job.
Good for her.
Now, my personal opinion was she didn't actually need one.
I'm trying to still find her.
But also, you do you.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
And these are a couple of comments she's had about her nose job. It's giving Voldemort. Her and Adele both stuffed up with their nose surgeries. Both looked fine before and now look absolutely botched.
Adele had a nose job?
Well, I didn't realise that.
I didn't either. I just thought she'd lost weight.
And then 100% she needs to be cancelled. This botched nose job is karma for being a self-absorbed cunt for years. So I think we probably can think in isolation, oh, they're not that bad. But imagine being trolled so relentlessly that you get a private investigator.
Imagine being the person who would write that online. Imagine getting your phone out, formulating that response and pressing post.
Well,
Now, don't get me wrong.
Should say anything.
Well,
I have been.
Have you been trolled?
I think trolling is an understatement, and
Yeah.
I have not said anything publicly. I'm not going to go into detail on this podcast because for me, remaining silent, holding my head high, and acting in a way which I think is with integrity and honesty, with everything that I do personally, without giving these two individuals airtime, has been the best thing that I could have done. If you want to believe them, go along with them. That's absolutely fine. There is a minuscule circle of people who I've told the truth to, and that's how I want to keep it. I don't think the dirty laundry of that needs airing.
And can we
in
just
public.
say as well, just to your absolute credit, you managed to keep me in check. I mean, I'm not being funny. Holy shit.
Charlotte has wanted to go to town.
Oh, she's had a lead on. She has had a lead on. I have been chained. No.
But for us, it's been the best thing to just let it happen, kind of around us. A few more bits and bobs went on than I'm kind of going to, say on here. But for me, just in that one instance, as I say one instance, it was a prolonged thing, but, two people, the toll it takes is absolutely unbelievable. And I actually...
Do you give, nameless, faceless trolls the same... Would you give them the same airtime in your head as you would, because we obviously know who these people are?
I think that's a really good point. And I feel like no, because I feel like these trolls are completely faceless. But Indy has said that...
Oh, she's good looking.
Yeah, she is. She's had 3 kids, Charlotte.
Stop it.
I know.
Oh my God, look at her body. Not that we're judging because of her body, but she is fit.
And to be honest, I do tend to watch her videos through, you know.
Do you? Oh, she has got lots of kids. I can see kids.
But she's cited the impact on her mental health, her family life, and even for her income earning opportunities as a result of this trolling. Now, I guess either in people not thinking that she's worth following or watching, or actually the fact that she perhaps hasn't even wanted to post online. One question I have, do you think she just has the money to do it so she can? Not many people are in a position.
She's in a position where she's made it, should we say.
Yeah.
Social media wise, she's definitely at the top of her game.
Do you think she is right to be able to use her platform and the backing of a following, perhaps the backing of management, the backing of that money that she has? Is she right to use that to stand up to these relentless bullies?
I think to stand up to people like that, you either needed to be all or nothing.
Yeah.
So you needed to go all the whole way, all of it.
Yes.
And all in, like literally once you've started, there's no stopping, or don't bother at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because not bothering, like doing a bit of a half-assed attempt at pulling them up would have just added fuel to the fire.
Yes.
You needed to go that far that you put a stop to it.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm not being funny, that takes balls.
Well, apparently she's got a 64-page report which supposedly reveals names and identities of the trolls. Now, this hasn't been... We haven't seen who these trolls are, but I get the impression that she knows who they are. Do you think they should be revealed? Do you think they should be called out for who they are?
I think she probably would be irresponsible to set a body of people on
a witch
someone.
hunt.
Yes. I think that would then take another dark turn for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they should definitely be brought to task. I mean, what's that girl called over here in the UK that is she not in prison now? Did she not get arrested for writing something on Twitter?
Lucy Donnelly.
Is that who it was? Rupert Lowe was going on about it on Facebook when I was researching the whole halal thing. I'll find out her name. She's in prison for saying something.
I think she said that basically we should burn hotels which have immigrants in them. But it was just after the Southport murders and attacks. I guess there was some kind of PTSD that she had from one of her own children dying at some stage. So obviously it was quite a stupid thing to say. It was an emotionally charged situation, but it was a stupid thing to say. But the tweet was removed within hours, I believe. Anyway, yeah, she's now in prison. I think this is the problem, and as we talked about in the segment before, where do you draw the line on what's free speech and what is hatred or incitement?
Well, I think people were saying about the whole Glastonbury thing, going back to that, why is one person in prison and no one else has been pulled up about it?
Yes.
When it's the same thing?
Well, it will be very interesting to see the results of the police investigation into the Glastonbury free speech element, because I think that'll set some kind of a...
Yeah, it needs a precedent setting, doesn't it? Which is a bit like this Indy Clinton thing.
Yes.
I think I'd listened to a podcast and it was a private investigator talking about how specifically she would have gone about finding these trolls. And essentially she will have given the usernames of the trolls, which are anonymous.
Yes.
And then the private investigator's gone through. But I wrote this down out of the podcast, and it basically said she can only take them to court for defamation because it hits the public forum, and she will have to prove damage and economic loss, or it's got to be a prolonged harassment.
Interesting.
So yes, she might have all their names, but unless they can prove, a defamation of her character, etc. Because I think they're coming on saying things like she was once a man, and just stupid stuff like that.
We say it's stupid though.
But did you see the one about Bonnie Blue being a man? And then they put her next to a picture of another man, and they look just like each other. Like,
no.
Yeah, to the point that I showed Roy and went, "Hey, she might be a man," and he was like, "No, she."
We say it's stupid though. We're not the victims of relentless trolling.
No, they're few and far between, to be honest, aren't they?
Yes. Do you think, or how did we get to the stage where
it's okay?
Being kind has gone out of the window? when you were little, were you not taught, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't bother saying it?
I think it's anonymity. People can get away with it because they have no repercussions for their actions anymore.
Yes.
You can be just a faceless, nameless person on the internet.
Yeah.
I saved this for you before when I went in to get some dinner from the butcher's.
Yes.
And do you want to hear some of my? I made a video once. So I've
Yes.
saved the video, and these are some of my best trollers. You used a skid steer to scrape the shit up. I disapprove. You're like the boss's son, the one that pretends they're hard at work all day when all they do is lean on a shovel.
It's amazing how lots of people in the farming world, the trolls are often over your work ethic or your ability to do your job.
Was that consensual? Ah, yes, consensual isn't in your vocabulary. Hey, dirtbag dudes, do you hear that? She doesn't know what consent means. Now, that's probably one of the darker ones, if I'm honest, where I went, you fucking weirdo. That was from Jay Thomas, sent a month ago on something to do with AI and cows, I think.
Yes.
But, like, at what point do you take these things seriously?
Well, and I think also the other thing is the fact that you're creating content around AI. When we say AI, we mean artificial insemination in this case, which is basically a way of getting cows pregnant. If you're willing enough to show the process or talk about it, doesn't it mean that as a farmer you're happy to stand by what you're doing?
Everything I put on the internet, I am happy to stand by.
Yes.
And we're very, very conscious about what we put online.
Yep.
She has her high beams on. Do you see that?
Great.
Yeah. You're such a retard. How's this satisfying? You deserve what you're going to get doing this to those poor animals. Your head chopped off and blood spilled out.
Well, on that one, this is probably quite a good point to play Lancashire lamb boxes, which we mentioned. Now, I think Eden does a very good job of basically just saying it how it is. She's pretty honest on there, isn't she? You know, she's straight talking about farming, and to put it, just works hard. You know?
She's grafting, isn't she? She's grafting it. They're grafting as farmers, but she's not just using TikTok as a platform of expression like I did. She's using it to work. She is selling.
Yes.
She's on TikTok Shop and she is relentless. And she's using it to graft.
Yes.
And she's making money. She's making a living. She's providing for a family. She's using it as a completely different thing to what I used it for. And for that, I completely respect her.
Yeah. But interestingly, and again, I think she's somebody who is very happy to be transparent about what they do, what they earn, farming practices. And this is an interesting video on, I guess, trolling and what she's encountered. So hopefully it plays.
I just received a death threat, again, from another vegan. I've never received a death threat from a non-vegan, just putting it out there. Meat eaters have never threatened death on me. But today, I've had a vegan threaten to put a pipe through my letterbox and turn the gas on. Thank you. Thank you. I will sleep well tonight knowing that somebody even considered typing out that comment to me. As if I haven't had a bad enough day already. Before midday, I'd had 3 dead sheep, one of which being my absolute pride and joy pet sheep, Houdini. I have cried so many tears today, and I feel utterly broken. But I still have to work because that's my job and that's life. Sometimes we have to work when we don't feel like working. But I don't think anybody ever deserves a death threat. It's my frigging birthday. It's literally my birthday. Yet Simon thinks that it might be a nice idea to type a comment out threatening to put a pipe through my letterbox and turn the gas on. What a nice human being.
Do you know what? She means that. That's not, I hadn't listened. I did see it. I just skipped past it, to be honest. You can tell she means that, doesn't she? It's not oh, look, you know, let's create content. I think she genuinely is like proper offended by that. And you can tell she had a shit day.
Yes.
But we all have shit days. It's not easy. And she will, you know, they're proper trying.
Yes.
The grafting. It's just it's how seriously do you take these things before that? Now, I'm not being funny. Someone has let's get down to the absolute basics of what take Eden out of it. Someone has threatened to gas a family of, I think
They've got a little baby.
they have a
haven't they?
baby.
Yes.
But anyway, a young family. Someone has threatened to kill them.
Yes.
At what point do you take that seriously?
Yeah,
And do
again-
you take that more seriously than someone shouting death to the IVF or IDF or whatever the hell it was at Glastonbury? Because I'm not being funny. I know which one I find more offensive.
Yes. And I think she's summed it up when she says, effectively, you can't believe that somebody would sit
And type
and
that.
type it and press send.
Yes, but that's the troll. That's the power. That's the fun to them. You know, why would you type a lengthy essay about you and put it online? Why would you? What on earth possessed someone to construct that message and press send? Not just send to multiple people and ask them to send.
Yes. Well, you see, I think this is where my situation was different. And as you've mentioned, I knew who they were. It was very obvious who they were, and it was deliberately malicious. Not just because we had a difference of opinions over being a vegan and eating meat. It was a deliberate attempt to try and
It's defamation.
bring me down. But I think we've kind of said it before. At what point do people stop? What is their end game? So when people are telling Indy that she's a bad mother, when people are saying to Eden, basically, you should die, when I got all the shit that I got, what is their end
And I
game?
just got someone telling me I had nice tits. I mean, I'll take it, hon. I will take it. My trolls are better than your trolls.
They don't tell me that.
I'll send you some of my trolls over.
But yeah, I mean, the end game from all of these people, is it to put their victims into a mental breakdown?
No,
Is
they
it
don't.
to
No,
make
no,
their
it's just
business
that bit
bad?
of
Is
power,
it-
isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
It's that thrill of like that thrill of you being in control of something.
Yes.
I'm gonna, you know.
yes.
I do often think it's a bit like, you know, we it might look from the outside like me and Roy have loads. You know, we have a farm, and you know we're literally living off brass tacks, like not even joking. As she goes and spends 30 quid on dinner. The crispy cakes, they were good.
They were good.
They were really good, but you know we live off very little. We're very frugal, and we are. And yet, from the outside, it maybe looks like we show off. I do worry about that. I do worry. I was speaking to Ollie the other day, and I do wish he'd sent me a voice note, but he hasn't sent me one. I was on the phone to him, and I said we were going to be doing one about trolls, and he said it's really funny. He caught someone basically slagging him off on the Farmers Weekly article about he'd taken the earliest cut of.
He'd be on barley, cut it as in harvest.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it. And this guy had been like, you know, going off at him saying how ridiculous it is. He's just doing it for likes and shares and whatnot. And then obviously Ollie does. He went and confronted him, and then he literally was like, "Oh yeah, mate, keep up what you're doing," and all.
Confronted him in person.
No, online. Let's have a look. I've got it up now.
But also, they must just have such unhappy lives, because I've never once thought I want to troll somebody. I've sometimes thought internally, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I've never once thought I'm going to type that, articulate it, and send it and voice that.
Yeah, I couldn't consider doing that. He'd literally pulled him up, and the guy was like, "Ugh," and he said it reminds him of when, you know, you'd walked into a pub and someone was slagging you off and didn't realise you were stood behind him, and then you tap him on the shoulder and they go, "Oh shit!"
Yes.
Like that's what pulling the trolls up reminds him of.
Yes.
Like they don't think that he's going to have the time to watch what people are saying, but in actual fact he does.
Yes.
But that goes back to the point that everything we put online we will stand by.
Yes.
And there's a reason for it. And yes, he did take a ridiculously early cut, but he gets paid. Well, he technically gets paid to dry it. It's biomass.
And the other thing is, people are harvesting in June who've never harvested in June before.
No.
It's a bizarre year. People round us in, you know, obviously in North Yorkshire have been harvesting, at the end of June. They have they had cut fields. So it's a strange year.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just for clicks and likes and whatever. If that barley is ready to cut, you're going to cut it. And I don't think Ollie would have taken any pride in cutting that barley.
No, he said it was
because
rubbish.
it looked absolutely shit. There'd be no yield in it.
No, it wasn't.
Because of the weather we've had. Anyway, sorry, we've really digressed on free speech. But I think free speech, trolling, I feel like we've had quite a whirlwind journey.
I'm interested to see where Indy Clinton goes with what she's doing.
Yes.
I think people do need pulling up. I think if you confronted the person, not that's the silly thing, we could have confronted the person who was your troll, and you chose to put your head up high and walk past, which was a very good moment, really. I wouldn't have done. I'd have gone and stood in the stand and stared him out. But that's me, and that's why you're classy and I'm not. Let's just say it was the upbringing. Well done, Liz. But no, I'll be very interested to see what happens. And I'll also be very interested to see whether these guys from Glastonbury get pulled up.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what your thoughts are on that conflict, which has absolutely nothing to do with us across the world. It will be interesting to see whether or not they do get pulled up, and that free speech is kind of. Everything's just censored now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you can't say anything.
You're scared. Honesty is being conflated with prejudice. You can be honest and have opinions, but still have tolerance or still have understanding, empathy.
What
to
about
other people's
the
situations.
counsellor who got arrested for they were having a laugh on a WhatsApp group, on a school WhatsApp group, and he got arrested? Do you not remember?
No.
A couple of months ago, there was a counsellor. I actually messaged him because we were I was in a similar situation a couple of years ago, wasn't I? But we'll go into that on another episode because it's quite a good story. It's actually a really good story. But anyway, they'd been having a laugh on a WhatsApp group, and then next thing the police turned up and arrested him because he'd been spouting off on WhatsApp on this group, and he'd gone absolutely mad and said, "This is a ridiculous use of police time. I can't believe." And it was under Malicious Communications Act 1988. Don't ask me how I know
Weird
that.
that you know all about
I
that,
know, weird that I
Charlotte.
know all about that. Isn't it strange? That's a story for another time. But yeah, it's at what point your free speech becomes a problem and ends up an arrestable offence.
Absolutely. Well, next time we're carrying on the conversation around influencers actually. The word we just blummin' love to hate, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
We'll be talking about influencers in the farming world after a piece written by Will Evans for Farmers Weekly, which we have some opinions on it, don't we, Charlotte? So next time we'll be getting into that. But as always, thank you for listening. Send us a DM with voice notes on Instagram. You can send a voice note, so send us them if you've got thoughts on topics that we've already talked about. If there's something that you've seen in the news or seen on social media that you want us to talk about, we'd love to hear from you.
And remember, we are also on YouTube if you want to watch us as well. Is that it? Are we done?
I think that's it.
I'm not done.
You haven't done your thing.
Oh, sorry, I'm not done until the fat lady sings. Love you long time. See you next time.